Hi everyone and welcome to this sportswear pattern cutting demonstration in which I will be showing you how to draft a pattern for a hooded sweatshirt. Hoodies are generally worn over other clothes and as a result they are often cut slightly oversized to accommodate this. This is a working drawing of the sweatshirt design I will be showing you how to make a pattern for. Using the menswear basic block as my starting point, we will be making patterns for a hood, a muff pocket and side panels. I will also show you how to convert a set-in sleeve to a raglan sleeve and how to calculate and create patterns for ribbed cuffs and hems. I will be demonstrating with a half-scale mannequin. This mannequin is exactly half the dimensions of a normal size 40 male mannequin. Using a half-scale mannequin is a quick and inexpensive way to try out new designs and ideas. Designs come together quickly and half the amount of resources, such as paper and fabric, are needed. This naturally makes this technique a more sustainable way to work. When working half scale, I also use an A3 pad of layout paper. Layout has the same lightness and sheer quality as normal pattern paper, but is easier to transport and store. Okay, so now we're ready to begin. You will need to print out the PDF I have drafted of the half scale men's basic block. If you would like a copy of this PDF, you can email me directly on the address on the screen now. The PDF consists of 6 pages of A4 in total. When printing, be careful not to tick the scale to page option, as this will make the block smaller. Once the PDF has been printed, you will need to stick it together on the join lines. Tape the top and bottom sleeves together and then cut them out. This will be your sleeve block. So now our sleeve is all ready to go. We need to do the same for the front block. Line the top and bottom up on the join line and tape them together. Now cut it out. Once you have done this, you will need to do the same for the back. Once these are both cut out, you can then tape them together on the side seams. So now you have a complete set of half-scale men's basic blocks. As I have a mini mannequin, I just wanted to show you how quick and easy it is to work with. As you can see, I've traced off the basic block onto layout paper. I've then cut it out and taped it together and put it onto the mini mannequin. Just to show you how fast and easy they are to use, here's a hockey shirt that I've quickly mocked up on the mini mannequin. In order to get a sense of the proportions of the garments we're making, I've marked some of the details onto the mini mannequin. I put the muff pocket on there, I've marked in the raglan seams, and we've also got the side panels. However, don't worry if you haven't got a mini mannequin, you can still get a good idea of how it will look even without one, as you can see here. The first stage of the raglan sleeve development is to move the shoulder seam forward. This balances the front and back pattern pieces so the shoulder dart sits in the correct position. To do this, add 0.5 centimetres to the back shoulder and remove 0.5 centimetres from the front shoulder. You will then need to redraw in the back neck. The next stage of creating the raglan is to lower the underarm, giving it a more relaxed fit. I'm measuring down 1.5 cms in the side seam, and then I'm going to use my original block, which I have already traced onto plastic, to recreate the shape of the new lowered armhole. Next, I want to lower the centre front neck by 1.5 cms. Again, I've measured down and I used my original block to reshape the lowered neckline. Now it's time to draw on the raglan seams. To do this, measure 2 cms down from the back shoulder point and make a mark. Now do the same on the front neck. Once that's done, continue the side seam line upwards. Place your pattern master on this line on top of the 90-degree angle line. Measure 1 cm down from the front armhole notch position and square across to the back armhole. On the back, draw a line from this position to the 2 cm mark on the neckline Do the same for the front. On the back raglan line, measure down 6 cms from the neck point. Mark out from the line 1/4 centimetre and use this to create a shallow curve. Add 2 alignment notches on this line to signify the back armhole. Then we need to do the same for the front. After creating your shallow curve, we only need to add 1 alignment notch to signify that this is the front armhole. Mark a line 4 cms on either side of the side seam. Add front and back alignment notches. Now it's time to create the front muff pocket. Measure up 2.5 cms from the hem. Then mark a further 9 cms up. From both these points, square across 7.25 centimetres and create a rectangle joining all 4 points. Measure in 1.75 centimetres at the bottom left corner of the rectangle. Then measure up 2.5 centimetres and join with the diagonal line. Measure 1.5 centimetres at the top left corner and create a shallow curve going down to the left corner. Mark in the front pocket facing 1.5 centimetres wide, following the curve of the line. Here I have cut out the new draft. I have rubbed out all of the pencil lines, leaving all the new seam lines which I've shown with a pink highlighter. Trace the sleeve onto layout paper. Move the sleeve head notch forward by 0.5 centimetres and redraw the central line. This is to match the shoulder seam we moved forward at the very beginning. Mark 1 centimetre down from the sleeve crown. Lower the underarm line by 0.5 centimetre and extend the line outwards. Use the original block to recreate the top of the sleeve head. You will need to measure the armhole so you know how much to extend it at the underarm. Reduce the sleeve length by 5 centimetres. Redraw the line following the shape of the original hemline. This is to allow for the cuff. Measure the armhole and extend the sleeve head as needed. Redraw in the underarm seams. To finish off the raglan, cut along the front and back raglan seams created earlier on the body block. We now need to attach them to the sleeve. Place the shoulder points together at the new crown head position notch and align the tips of the raglan shapes to the sleeve head. This will overlap at the top of the sleeve head, but that's okay as it eliminates the sleeveys from the original block. Tape the raglan sections to the sleeve head. Lower the crown point by 1.5 centimetres. We will need to round off the centre of the shoulder dart as it's too sharp. Reshape the dart ends to create a shallow curve. On the main body, blend the raglan lines so the curve is nice and smooth. Using your measuring tape on its side as we are measuring a curve, measure the raglan seams on the body. Then measure the raglan seams on the sleeve. Check the seam lengths match and adjust if necessary. Okay, so we're nearly finished the raglan sleeve now. We just need to remove the shoulder dart. Start by tracing the raglan shape onto a new piece of paper. You will still need to use the original raglan block, so keep it to hand. Extend the grain line on the new traced off raglan. Mark a new underarm line 3.5 centimetres above the original underarm line. Using the original raglan, line it up on the grain line and rotate the top of the sleeve so the underarm also touches the new 3.5 centimetres underarm line. Trace off the front armhole and draw in the new shape. Do the same for the back. Draw in the underarm seams and reduce the length of the sleeve by 3.5 cms. I have traced off the front and back bodies on the centre front and centre back fold. I've added seam allowance in order to create full pattern pieces. I've made drill holes for the muff pocket position. I've also traced off the side panels. Now I need to create the rib patterns for the hem. To do this, I need to measure the hem. As you can see, I've also traced off the muff pocket and its facing, adding seam allowances. Before making the waistband rib pattern, it is important to calculate the amount you will need to reduce the waistband. Rib waistbands and cuffs are usually slightly stretched onto the body or sleeve. It really depends on the stretch ratio of the rib you are using. As a standard starting point, we can measure the seam the rib will be attached to and divide it by 4. Then subtract 1/4 from the measurement to create the rib pattern. To make the ribbed waistband, make a rectangular box 45 cms long by 8 cms wide. As this is a folded pattern, mark a line halfway along the length. Draw a broken line to indicate this and write fold. Mark and add an arrow to indicate this is the green line. Then add seam allowance. This is your waistband pattern. Add seam allowance to the finished raglan sleeve. To make the sleeve cuff, draw a box 12 cms by 8 cms long, mark the fold line and add seam allowance. Finally, it's time we can draft the hood pattern. To do this, we will need to know some measurements. The vertical circumference of a head can be measured by holding a tape around your model's face, starting and finishing at the centre front. In this case, it's 40 centimetres. We then measure the front and back neck and add them together. That's 13 centimetres. Then we measure the drop of the back to the front neck. In this case, it's 5 cms. Starting in the left bottom corner, draw a straight line 13 centimetres long. This is the neck measurement combined. Draw a line up from this 20 centimetres long. Create a box. We then measure up 5 cms from the bottom. This is the neck drop. Draw a line. Then mark a line 1.5 cms from the top and left side. This is to allow for the strip that runs through the back of the hood, which in this case measures 3 cms. From the top right corner, measure down 5 cms and across 1 3/4 centimetres. Mark the centre of the top of the box. Using a flexi curve, draw in the neckline. Measure and mark in the shoulder seam. Then mark in the centre front point. The excess is the overlap of the centre front neckline. Now it's time to draw in the hood shape. Start at the front and roughly start to draw in a curve for the seam. The shape of the hood is really dependent on you to some extent. You are the designer of the pattern. Use your French curves to get the shape of the hood looking nice. Don't forget you need to have a right angle at the centre front, otherwise you will get a point. Once you are happy with the hood shape, you can rub out all the excess pencil lines and mark in the grain line. You need to measure the curved seam for the top of the hood. Use your tape measure on its side, measure round the top, and keep a note of this measurement for later on. Next we need to create the facing. This is 1.5 centimetres wide and it's very similar to how you made the facing for the muff pocket. You need to follow the line of the original hood. Once you've done that, you need to add seam allowance all around the hood. Now we need to create the pattern for the centre back strip. This is just a rectangle. Measure 24.5 cms by 3 cms wide. Add seam allowance. Mark the grain line. You will need to trace off the facing pattern for the hood on the fold to create a whole pattern. Okay, so now we've really finished the hood. Here are all the pattern pieces for the entire garment, and here's how the pattern would look if it was cut out and sewn together.